Wizard back here. We're back in our training grounds here, the same thing as far as the first three videos, but we're going to come right over here. And why we're going to do this is I saw on the Horizons page that someone was trying to make a ball that came back into your hand. Um, and there is a way to do it. There wasn't at first, but Facebook came out with a few more really cool scripts. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab a ball, and then we're going to grab a script, and that's all we need. And what we'll name it here is ball return. There we are. One world is started, we're not really worried about. Well, let's go ahead and grab this ball here, and we'll place it right here. So here's everything we need. And what we're going to do is we want the ball to come after we throw it. So what we'll do is we'll come over here, and when object is released by player. So when it's released by player, what we want it to do is we want it to move to a certain location. So we'll go to motion here, and we're going to move to over time. Because if we do move to, it's just going to quickly spawn back, but we want it to actually fly back. So we're going to do move to over time. Where do we want to move it to? So right now, when the grab ends, so when I let this ball go, it's going to move to this vector over 1 second on self. So if I put the script on this ball here, that's what self refers to as this ball. Well, in this case here, we can type manual vectors, but what we really want to do here is we're actually going to come to, I believe it's under operations, and we're going to come down, and there we are, position of player, because we want to bring it back to the player who's holding it. So we want to bring it back, let's say the right hand. I'm right-handed, so move to blank position of whatever player this is over so many seconds. So we're going to do the right hand, and let me get a little closer. I know my videos are a little blurry. So we're going to do right hand position of player. Well, now we need to define who the player is, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to come over here and we're going to create a variable. And the variable, we're going to drop down this menu and we're going to click player ID. And player ID is, let's say, owner, because this is going to be the owner of the ball. So then we grab owner and we bring it over here. So now we know that when we release the ball, the action is going to be to move the ball, which is self, to the right hand of the owner over 1 second. Now we need to figure out who the owner is. Right now it has no idea who this is. It just knows it's a player. So what we want to do is I'm going to come back over here and I'm going to create event. And the event we're going to do is when the object is grabbed by the player. And I'm going to throw that over here, but I'm going to throw that up above because that's going to happen first before the end. I don't know that really makes a difference, but it's nice to know the order of operations as far as when things happen. And so when grab start by player, what we want to do is we're going to come over here to values, and we're going to set a value. So we're going to grab set to, and we're going to drop it under grab start. So once I grab the ball, it's going to set what to what? Well, we're going to come over here and we're going to grab that variable, so owner. And what's going to happen is when we grab the ball, it's going to set the owner variable to this player ID, whatever player grabs it. So I'm going to grab this and I'm going to drop it right there. And mind, I didn't just grab it and drop it. I did use this little right copy over here. Duplicate is what it is. And so now, when I grab the ball, the player who grabs the ball will then become the owner. Then, when you let go of the ball, it will move the ball to the right hand of the owner over 1 second. So let's try this out. Well, where did my ball go? Oh, it's up there. So let's lower this a little bit down to my height, and then let's make it grabbable, but we also want it physical. That way we can throw it. So when I grab it, I am now the owner. It has just made me the owner. And when I throw it, well, it does nothing. Why is that? So let's go back here and, oh, well, there it is. So attach script, we never attached this script to that. So let's close it and open it up, and we're going to see this is ball return. We're going to come down to the ball here, and we're going to add this script, ball return. So now, let's go back in here. We're going to grab this ball again. Still nothing. So let's go back over here. And when grab start, we want to set owner to player. Grab end, we want to do this action. But I think what's happening now is that as soon as I end it, it automatically moves it to the right hand, but it kind of has a little bit of an issue with the motion. So what we're going to go ahead and do, we want this to stall. We want us to be able to throw the ball and then wait until it acts on itself. So then I'm going to come over here to events, and I'm going to go down to send event with delay. And I'm going to throw it in here. And we're going to send return. I'm just going to create an event here just by custom. So when I let go of the ball, it's going to send return to this same script or the same ball that I put the script on after so many seconds. Let's throw the ball for 2 seconds before it comes back. Well, now this right here, because there's not receiving an event, it's still going to happen right after this happens. So what we want to go ahead and do is we want to come back over here to your events, and when event is received, we're going to go ahead and throw it right back here. So now, when I take this action and drop it under here, when I let go of the ball, it's going to send the event return to itself after 2 seconds, and this one we're going to name return because we want it to match exactly what this is. So now, after I let go of the ball, it'll wait 2 seconds, and then it's going to move action to the right hand of the owner over 1 second. And let's cause it to roll a little slower, 2 seconds on self. So let's try that again. So I'm not going to throw it very far, 1, 2, and as you can see, it tries rolling back and then it keeps going. For whatever reason, it's trying to pull away, and the reasoning for that is because it's a physical object. It's still turning as it's trying to pull back. So what we want to do is we want it to stop from turning. We want it to stop from trying to pull away as it's pulling forward. So what we'll go ahead and do is we'll come back over here, and we're going to click this little actions button. And when we go down through here, and I think I clicked the wrong one. Let's go to motion. Here we are. So under motion, if we go down one page, you're going to see physical motion, and under it there's disable object physical motion. So we're going to click on that, and we're going to put it right here. And then we're going to grab a variable. Oh, actually, no. We want to disable on self. So that's perfect. So disable self, physical motion, and then after we disable self, after 2 seconds of this going down to this event, we're then going to use the action move to, and we're going to move self to the right hand of the owner over 2 seconds. So now let's try that again. I grab it. It has set the variable owner to me, and then if I throw it, after 2 seconds, it'll stop, and now it comes back. Now the issue now, though, is we disabled physical motion. I can't move it now because it's not physical. Right? I can grab it, and then if I let go, after 2 seconds, it's going to come to my right hand. So what we then want to go ahead and do, and I'm going to bring it back here, we want to move to right hand over 2 seconds, and then we want to grab up here, and we're going to do another send event with delay. And we're going to do it right under here. So now we're going to do, we did return, but now we want to do physical because we want to turn the physical motion back on. So send event physical to self after so many seconds. Well, after return happens, it's going to take 2 seconds to come back to your hand. Well, what I want it to do is after it gets to your hand, I want it to automatically turn physical again. So I want this to match this. Now, if I wanted it to suspend in the air for, let's say, a second, I would change this to 3. That way it was a second over this item here. But in this case here, we're going to change it to number 2. So now we're going to send event physical to self after 2 seconds. And that all happens when return is received. So then we got to come over here. And we have to go back to when event is received. And we're going to throw it down here. And now we want physical, because that's the one that's going to come in. So now that we have physical here, what we want to do is, unlike disable physical motion, we want to come over here. It's under the motion again, and we're going to go down, or I apologize, up, and enable object physical motion. So I'm going to grab that, and I'm going to drop it right down here. So now, here's what's happening. I grab the ball. It sets owner, which is a variable, to the player that held the ball. That's all. As soon as I let go of the ball, what happens is it sends event return to self after 2 seconds. So it waits 2 seconds after I let go, and then after 2 seconds, this event will then happen, which disables the self physical motion on the ball. So now it no longer will try to roll away. It then moves to the right hand of the owner, which we know is up here, over 2 seconds. So it's going to take 2 seconds to get to my hand, and we're moving itself, or we're moving the ball. Then what will happen is when this happens here, it's also going to send event physical to itself after 2 seconds. That way it gives it enough time to come back to my hand. And then after 2 seconds, when event physical is received, we're going to enable the physical motion again. So let's try this one more time. I grab it. I'm now the owner. I throw it. 1, 2. It'll stop, come back to me, and then it'll drop. And what's really cool is I can move around and come over here. It'll always come back to me. Now, if I move, it won't move live with me. It'll move wherever it sets the vectors to at my hand at that 2 second mark. So the other thing, though, is if I throw it and then I pick it up, what'll happen is now it's trying to pull it back. That's not me, right? I let it go, I come over here, and now it's trying to pull away. So the thing that sucks with it is that you can't throw it to somebody and expect them to catch it, because if they try to catch it, it's going to pull it out of their hands. We don't want that to happen. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up here and we're going to modify the script just a little more. And what we want to do is grab start. If somebody grabs the ball, what will happen is we want to come over here to events, and we want to go all the way to the bottom to cancel sending with delay. I'm going to click that. I'm going to put it right down here under grab start, because if we grab start, we're going to cancel. And what are we going to cancel? We're going to cancel return, because we don't want return to ever happen. So let's go over here and let's find return, and there we are. So now, same script, I grab it, I'm the owner, I throw it, 2 seconds, it'll disable physical motion, come to my hand, and now enabled physical motion. But if I grab it and throw it, and I grab it again, it disabled the return command. It stopped the script from happening. So now I can take it over here, drop it over here, come back, 2 seconds, it'll come over to me. If I throw it to a buddy and they pick it up, it's no longer going to try to come back to me, and I can throw it as far as I want. After about 2 seconds, it'll come back, and I can catch it. And so that's how you get a ball to come back to the player that it originally grabbed. And real quick, just so we're aware, let's go back to the sphere. The main things that we want to make sure is motion is set to interactive, and then we want to set interaction to both. The reasoning for this is because we want it to be grabbable so you can grab it and move it, and physical so that it falls, rolls away, however you want it to happen. And you can change physical material to whatever you want. Let's say you turn it to rubber ball, for instance. Well, now it's like a basketball, and you can throw it, and then after 2 seconds it'll still disable. So you can make it do a lot of cool things as far as here, but this doesn't matter. The only thing that matters, interaction, is both, and that's because motion is interactive. Then if we come up to the script, just one last look at it. When event grab start with player is received. So when I grab the ball, it'll set the owner as the player who grabbed it. And we're also going to cancel the sending event of return if that's in process, if that's about to send. When I let go of the ball, it'll send return to itself after 2 seconds. So it's going to wait 2 seconds, but let's try this. I'm going to change this to 5 seconds just to kind of show you the length of time. When event return is received, so after 5 seconds when it sends it to itself after I throw the ball, it's going to go ahead and disable self-physical motion so it doesn't try rolling away. It's going to move to the right hand of owner, which we set up here at grab start, and it's going to move it to me over 2 seconds. And let's go ahead and take a little more time. Let's say 4 seconds, for instance, on self. And then it's going to send event physical to self after 2 seconds. Now we don't want this to happen. We want it to be 4 seconds. That way when it comes back to my hand, it immediately drops. But just for experimental purposes, I'm going to change it to 6. So what's going to happen is now it's going to send it to me over 4 seconds, and then it's going to wait 2 additional seconds because it's 6 over 4 before it drops the ball and gives it the physical motion again. So now that we got all the script done, I'm going to back up and let's try that 4 over 6 again. So I'm going to throw that, and now it's going to take a little longer. It comes to me over 4 seconds, wherever it is, and then it's going to stay in the air for 2 seconds before it drops. And that's how you can get a ball to come back to you.